Singapore will undergo a review by international experts to assess its readiness to potentially deploy advanced nuclear energy technologies in the future. The review starting next year will help validate Singapore's progress in building capabilities in the sector and ensure its development efforts are on the right track. It will also support more informed decision-making. Prime Minister Lawrence Wong announced this at the Energy Market Authority's anniversary dinner. Claudia Lim reports.
Singapore has no natural resources and relies heavily on imported natural gas. For low-carbon power, it has options like solar and hydrogen, but these come with constraints, and the country continues to study other sources, including nuclear energy. Prime Minister Lawrence Wong announced that next year, Singapore plans to embark on the first phase of the Integrated Nuclear Infrastructure Review, or INIR.
The purpose of the first phase of the review, phase 1 review, is to assess whether Singapore is ready to make an informed decision on nuclear energy deployment. The emphasis is on being ready to make an informed decision. And this is only the first phase. Should the country decide to deploy nuclear power, there is still a second phase to assess its readiness, to invite bids to construct a plant, and a third phase to evaluate whether it's ready to safely commission and operate its plant.
He added that based on the experience of other countries, the entire preparatory process and infrastructure development can take over 15 years. The review by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, will assess 19 areas, including nuclear safety, radioactive waste management, and emergency preparedness. The IAEA will then provide recommendations and support for Singapore's future capability building efforts.
Safety will always be our overriding priority. As a small and densely populated city-state, we have no margin for error. So we must be confident not just in the technology itself, but in the entire supporting ecosystem around it. Regulation, security, emergency response, and waste management, amongst other things.
He said this is why Singapore is focusing on newer reactor technologies with enhanced safety features, including small modular reactors. Following phase 1, Singapore can decide to progress to the next stage when it's ready.
Along the way, be it through the IAEA review or our own further studies, there may well be findings that lead us to conclude that nuclear is not the right path for Singapore. If so, we will accept the conclusion. But even then, the effort will not be wasted.
Singapore is not alone in exploring nuclear energy. Countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines have also undergone the same assessment, though none has decided yet whether to deploy it. If they choose to move ahead, they would then progress to phases 2 and 3, bringing them a step closer to eventually operating their first nuclear power plant.
As a whole of the ASEAN community, I think we would like to play a responsible role in trying to help the region with the nuclear development of nuclear energy, because it will actually add on to our regional ASEAN power grid if we were to implement it in the future as a kind of a source of a clean source as well as a reliable source of electricity to be generated within the region.
The assessment is expected to be completed by 2028.
PM Wong said Singapore is focusing on newer reactor technologies, including small modular reactors. Let's find out more about nuclear energy in these reactors. Now, nuclear energy is created when atoms split in a process called nuclear fission. Now, this releases a large amount of heat, which is used to turn water into steam, in turn spinning turbines to generate electricity. And while traditional nuclear plants are large-scale facilities, newer reactor designs are smaller, include enhanced safety features, and are faster to deploy. These are called small modular reactors, or SMRs. They're designed for smaller spaces, making them potentially suitable for land-scarce Singapore. Now, each SMR typically generates between 50 and 300 megawatts of electricity, enough to power a city district or an industrial zone. For Singapore, SMRs could be deployed offshore and scaled gradually as demand grows. Beyond electricity, they could also support desalination, hydrogen production, and other industrial uses. But SMRs also come with risks. Like all nuclear technologies, they produce radioactive waste, and safety remains a key concern. And because many SMR designs are still new, they have yet to be widely used around the world. Since 2012, Singapore has been steadily building up its nuclear capabilities. These include launching a nuclear safety research and education program, setting up a nuclear safety advisory panel, and signing cooperation agreements with countries, including the United States, France, and South Korea. Singapore also established the Singapore Nuclear Research and Safety Initiative to strengthen expertise in the field.
These nuclear reactors, we need to study how these systems behave under conservative, credible scenarios, including the worst case conditions, to understand, it's almost like a crash test for a car, to understand the safety features and their limits. And what happens when these limits are exceeded? We need to be able to sort of put a mark and say, okay, we're confident that this reactor behaves as advertised.